Sagittarius, why are you so deeply misunderstood? And is it true that you're becoming lonelier by the day in ways no one can explain? Have you ever felt the more honest you are, the more people pull away? The more wholeheartedly you love, the more you're the one left behind? You're not fake, but they call you cold. You're just trying to live true to your heart, yet somehow you're always the one being misunderstood. If you are a Sagittarius, I want you to know you are not hated because you are wrong. You are hated because you are too right, too direct, too difficult for a world that still prefers the comfort of sweet illusions. And today, I will tell you the 10 deepest reasons why people fear you, and yet, why they can never forget you. These are also the 10 things that quietly push you into solitude, but at the same time, make you extraordinary. Stay until the end, because the last thing you'll hear today might be the only thing you need to stop doubting the light inside you. And perhaps, the very first reason is also the one that's caused the most people to walk away. Not because you did something wrong, but because you dared to speak the truth they never wanted to hear. We begin with reason 1. Honesty that cuts like a blade. But behind it lies a truth no one's ever had the courage to admit to you. Reason 1. Honesty that cuts like a blade. And the lesson of courage that is never rewarded. They say you're sharp, like a knife. But has anyone ever asked, was the blade born to wound or to sever what has already rotted, even as others try desperately to hold on? You are Sagittarius. The fire in your heart isn't just for warmth. Sometimes it burns away the illusions others are too afraid to face. You don't know how to stay silent when truth is choking in your throat. You don't know how to wear a polite smile when inside you ache with all the words that haven't been said. Some say you're tactless. Some say you lack grace. Some see you as the one who disrupts a fragile peace. But what peace are they talking about? The smooth shell that covers a relationship already drained of truth? The sweet mask hiding a love that no longer holds warmth? You speak aloud what others only dare to think. You expose the truth in a voice stripped of performance. Not to condemn, but to awaken. And that is the real issue. You were not born to please the crowd. You were born to illuminate what's been buried. And light, as beautiful as it is, still makes people squint when it arrives in the middle of the night. You've lost someone you love deeply, just for being too real. You've been pushed out of circles, just because you refused to clap along to a performance everyone else was trying to maintain. And maybe, at one point, you thought to yourself, maybe I should tone it down, soften up a little, speak less truth. But you couldn't do it, because you knew the moment you silence your own heart is the moment you begin to lose the very light that's been guiding you all along. No one ever told you this. Living truthfully is a journey of sweat, not applause. Honesty is a language not everyone is mature enough to understand. You don't cut people with your words. They hurt, because without meaning to, you touched a wound they'd long buried beneath the polite pleasantries of everyday conversations. You are the opposite of pretense. You're not good at acting, nor do you want to sit in the audience of life's scripted plays. You'd rather sit alone than squeeze into a crowd your heart doesn't truly belong to. And that makes you lonely. But let me ask you this. Is loneliness really scarier than not being yourself anymore? Truth is a form of courage that earns no medals. It is a battle where the only prize is a soul that hides nothing when looking in the mirror. People don't hate you. They fear you. They fear the way your eyes see beneath the surface. They fear the way your voice touches things they thought were buried. They fear that when standing next to you, there is nowhere left to hide. But my dear, don't be angry at them. Not everyone is ready to face the truth at the moment you offer it. Some need more time, some need a winter, a loss, a sleepless night, before they understand why you once said what you did. And maybe one day they'll come back, not to apologize, but simply to whisper, "You were right." If today you're wondering whether you should keep living truthfully or soften yourself just to keep people close, I only want to say one thing. Gentleness is not the same as pretending. You can speak truth with eyes that know how to listen, with words that know how to heal, with a heart that does not judge. but you never have to pretend. You are not a blade, you are light, and light does not apologize for waking someone up. If this part of the message stirred something in your heart, just leave one sentence in the comments. I will not apologize for being real, because maybe today you feel alone, but you are the reason. A new world will become more honest, more radiant, and more alive. Are you ready to move forward? Because beyond truth, there is freedom. And beyond freedom, something else awaits, love, but not the kind you've known before. Let's step into the next chapter together, where love becomes the greatest test for the soul of Sagittarius. Reason 2, freedom makes you hard to love. My dear, you love the way the wind moves through a forest. Not loud, not promising anything, but stirring every single leaf as it passes. To Sagittarius, love has never been a golden cage. You don't love to keep, nor love to own. You love to fly with someone, and that alone is what makes you one of the hardest signs in the zodiac to love. Not because you don't know how to love, but because you don't know how to love without losing yourself in the process. You are a wild soul, born of sunlight and the wind across faraway fields. You need space to breathe, to dream, to open your window each morning and say, today I'll go, wherever my heart calls me. Others call that irresponsible. They look at you and say, you're afraid of commitment. But the truth is, you're afraid of only one thing, living a life that was never your choice. Love, for others, is attachment. For you, it's companionship, not possession. You don't need someone to hold you back. You need someone to walk beside you. And you do love. Oh, how deeply you love. You love like an unfinished poem. You love like you want to hand someone the entire sky, but have no idea how to fold it into a box. Those who fall for you often begin with admiration, because you are too real, too free, too full of light. But slowly, that admiration turns into anxiety. They begin to fear you. Fear that one day you'll fly off without warning. Fear you're not grounded enough to build something that lasts. Fear that you love your own life more than you'll ever love them. And again, you are misunderstood. No one sees that behind that radiant smile is a heart more fragile than anyone expects. You're not afraid to love. You're afraid of being kept in a love that dims your light. You need a love that doesn't ask you to go silent when you feel like singing. A love that doesn't ask you to stop when your wings are ready to fly. You need someone who doesn't ask, when will you come home, but asks instead, next time, can I come with you? And maybe that's why you're still alone, because the kind of love you need is rare. And few are mature enough to offer it. Even fewer are free enough to understand it. But please, don't stop loving, because you know what? The world needs a love like yours. A love that doesn't control, doesn't possess, doesn't suffocate. A love like wind, soft, free, and impossible to contain. If you've ever been blamed for not committing, if you've ever felt like the problem in relationships that ran deep, remember this: you are not wrong. You just need someone who is free enough within themselves to not feel threatened by the freedom that defines you. Today, if your heart feels like it's shutting down because of old misunderstandings, try writing one sentence in the comments. I was born to love, without losing myself. And who knows, maybe the person who needs to read those words is listening beside you right now. What if I told you that a relationship made just for you is already on its way? But first, you must learn to love yourself, the way you once loved your freedom. And yet, when a heart chooses freedom, the soul chooses to burn with everything it's got. And that's when people start to feel afraid, not because you belong to no one, but because you dare to live, dare to love, and dare to burn in a way no one can control. Which brings us to reason 3, the fire that makes people both fall for you and fear you. Reason 3, your passion is too intense. Sagittarius doesn't walk into anything halfway. When you love, you blaze. When you live, you set the sky on fire. When you dream, you go beyond the map. But intense light is also the thing that blinds. And to hearts that aren't ready, your fire isn't warmth. It's a volcano threatening to burn down the safety they've built. You live with a thirst so fierce, as if you've lived 1,000 lives and still haven't had your fill. You dive into ideas like a wild lover, loving with everything you've got, then letting go with nothing more than a quiet sigh. To you, passion is the sacred calling of the soul. Where there is a spark, you go. Where the flame dies, you leave. And that is what makes others nervous. They don't know how long you'll stay. They don't know if you'll return once you've seen a different horizon. The ones who love you start with admiration. They admire your creativity. The way you speak about dreams makes them believe anything is possible. The way you look at a new day, as if the entire world is waiting for you to change it. You are inspiration. You're the wind that fills sails, the lightning that wakes sleeping skies. But when the thrill fades, you go quiet. You withdraw. You move on to a new path, without time to explain. It's not because you're dishonest. It's not because you're irresponsible. It's because the Sagittarius heart cannot survive in a place where the soul has gone silent. You can't bear shallow relationships, can't endure meaningless work. Can't wake up every morning asking, "What am I doing here?" That's why people call you impulsive, unreliable, inconsistent, untrustworthy. But the truth is, you are deeply loyal to your real feelings. It's just that no one ever taught you how to keep a fire when you were born to be the flame. How many times have you loved someone only to walk away when your heart no longer sang beside them? How many times have you poured yourself into a project, burning through the night, only to wake up and not feel the same light anymore? If you've read this far, you might have been blamed for not sticking around. But listen, passion is your fuel. And when that fuel runs dry, you can't pretend you're still flying. So, what's the lesson here for you? Not to stop being passionate, not to force yourself to stay, but to learn how to feed the fire from within, instead of waiting for the world to light it for you. The right person for you is not the one who tries to hold you back, but the one who walks with you through your transformations, your explosions, your restless days, your impulsive nights, and still chooses to stay. Because they don't love your stability. They love the soul in you that never stops evolving. Today, if you've ever felt like you were too much in someone else's eyes, too passionate, too changing, too unpredictable, leave one simple sentence in the comments. I will not apologize for the fire within me. Because that fire is the very proof that you are still alive, fully, completely, unapologetically. But there's an even deeper truth. Fire can burn things down, or warm a whole room depending on how you learn to guide it. And in the next part, I'll speak of that very thing. When change is no longer a form of leaving, but a sacred transformation of the soul. Because when that fire fades, others won't understand why you turned away. They'll only feel the chill you left behind. But the truth is, you never meant to leave anyone. You were simply being called by your soul to a place where your heart could awaken again. And that is the next reason you're misunderstood. You're always moving, always learning, always changing. Even when others have just gotten used to the version of you that no longer exists. Reason 4, always learning, always moving, always changing. Some people were born to live a quiet life. They choose a familiar home, a chair by the window, a love that's enough, so they don't ever have to leave. But that's not you. You, a soul set ablaze by the winds and the sun, have never felt safe while standing still. Every time life begins to repeat itself, you feel lost. Every time someone calls it stability, your heart whispers, it's time to go. To others, that sounds like fear of commitment, but to you, it's honesty with your soul. I know you've tried to stay, you've tried to hold on, tried to live a life like everyone else, work, love, settle, but every time you do, some part of you starts to wither. As if something inside, that Sagittarius flame, can't breathe behind walls that were never meant for you. And so you leave. Not because you don't love, but because you can't live in betrayal of your own freedom. Not because you're disloyal, but because you are fiercely loyal to the voice within. Someone once told you, you've changed too quickly. You were like this yesterday, now you're someone else. You smiled, not out of pride, but because you knew they never really saw how much you grow each day. Change is not something you do. It's something you are. Every trip you take, every lesson you learn, every piece of knowledge you touch, it transforms you. You don't hold on to old versions of yourself just to keep others comfortable. But then you discovered, growth comes with a cost. The cost of walking alone. The people who once walked beside you start to quiet. The shared stories fade. They fear you'll leave them behind. Or worse, they feel abandoned in a life you no longer find meaningful. And so you're misunderstood. They say you run away, that you can't commit, that you're unstable. But what could you say when the only thing you're truly committed to is the fire inside you that refuses to stop growing? I once witnessed a Sagittarius walk away from a relationship because they no longer felt they were learning anything new. They weren't angry, they weren't bitter. They simply said, if I stay, I will die inside. And they left with a strange warmth and deep peace in their eyes. You know what? You are not wrong. You just don't belong where things stop moving. You were born to go, to learn, to see the world, not just with your eyes, but with your soul. This world often judges people like you. They label you unfaithful, quitter, emotionally unreliable, but then that very same world comes looking for you. Whenever they need someone brave enough to step outside the same old circle, they themselves are afraid to leave. You may not be the person everyone can hold on to, but you are, without a doubt, the one they will never forget. Because there's always something about you in motion. Awakening, calling others, even if just for a moment, to live more truthfully within themselves. If someone is reading this and they feel you were the one who walked away from their life, let me say this on your behalf. I didn't leave because I didn't love. I left because that love was no longer a place I could grow. If they understand, they will forgive. If they don't, you'll still move on. Because every step you take is a conversation with the universe. Every change, no matter how small, is a sign that you're drawing closer to the highest version of your being. And if you've ever felt lonely because of that, please know you're not alone. You're simply ahead, just a little. And as you keep walking, growing, changing, you'll realize not everyone is ready to see as far as you do. Not everyone wants to go where your heart is being called. Some just want you to stay as you were. But you can't, because what comes next is one of the deepest reasons for your distance. Your vision is too vast for others to feel safe around it. Reason 5. A vision too big. There's something inside you that not everyone sees right away. It has no shape, yet it's always steps ahead of you. It's the way you look at an old room and see a whole new horizon. It's when you're sitting at a quiet dinner, but your eyes already touch roads no one's walked yet. Some call it vision, but I call it something else. The silent guide, living inside the soul of a Sagittarius. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand. It simply taps on your chest whenever you're about to take the wrong turn. It whispers dreams into your ear, dreams that reach beyond your current grasp. And then it moves you away from smallness, from people not yet ready. And for that, you are misunderstood. When you share your dreams, they say you're arrogant. When you speak of the future, they say you're unrealistic. When you seek change, they say you're escaping. But how would they know that this vision is alive in you? Like a living thing with a heartbeat, it won't let you lie still, it won't let you settle. It's the phoenix inside your chest, singing its song of freedom every night. You were not born to shrink yourself, to fit someone else's comfort zone. You were born to see what others haven't dared to dream yet. And sometimes, that gaze of yours wounds others, because they feel small standing next to someone, always looking toward the distance. They fear you'll leave. Fear you won't need them once you've seen something greater. But you know what? That's not your fault. You're simply being honest with the silent guide within you. And never forget, not everyone is brave enough to walk beside someone carrying the soul of a shooting star. If anyone has ever told you that you're too much of a dreamer, smile, because no dream is ever too far for a true Sagittarius. There are only hearts that aren't big enough to fly alongside you. And if you're ready, let's keep exploring another truth. A truth that makes you seem distant to some, just because you can't pretend in relationships that have already gone hollow. Reason 6. You can't tolerate pretending. There is a simple truth about you that causes many to walk away. You're not good at pretending. Not good at keeping conversations that have gone dry. Not good at smiling when your heart is no longer there. Not good at holding on to something your soul already knows is over. You're not cruel. You just can't tolerate anything fake, in any form. To you, truth is always more sacred than comfort. A relationship full of pain but real is still worth staying in, more than a surface-level love where both are just acting. You choose honesty because you know a soul cannot grow in falseness, and that, ironically, makes people turn away. People are used to preserving things, even when the love has already rotted from the inside. They call endurance maturity. But you don't. You choose to step back when you feel you can no longer be yourself. You choose silence over pretense. You choose to retreat with respect, rather than hold on to something that has become just a shell. And so, they call you cold, distant, detached, but no one sees how many battles you fought within yourself before deciding to walk away. You gave them chances. They just didn't realize. You didn't leave because you stopped loving. You left because you were no longer being loved in the way you deserved. To you, love isn't about holding on. It's about holding on to what's right. A relationship, to you, is a meeting of two souls. No masks, no need to be better to be loved. You need someone who can sit with you in silence and still feel your soul smiling. You need someone who isn't afraid of your light and doesn't ask you to dim it just so they can stay close. If you've ever been told that you're too blunt, too clear, too black and white, don't change, because you are the light for those who are still lost between what's real and what's not. You weren't born to maintain things that have already died. You were born to call what's truly alive back to life again. And one day, you'll see, the ones who dare to stay with your truth are the ones your soul has been waiting for. Are you ready to keep going? Because what's coming next doesn't need to be said aloud to be felt. Even when you're just being yourself, some people still feel uneasy, still feel small, simply because of the light you carry. So could it be that you're too radiant in a world of souls not yet ready to awaken? Let's keep walking. There's one more truth waiting to be revealed. Reason 7. The silent competition. You don't enjoy competing. You don't need to win over anyone. You just want the freedom to explore, to grow, to be. And yet, you've become the quiet comparison point for so many. You don't realize it, but every time you rise to a new level, someone nearby feels like they're falling behind. You don't notice that the spark in your eyes when you speak of your dreams makes the person next to you feel dull in comparison. You're not trying to stand out. You're simply living in alignment with the fire you were born with. The fire of Sagittarius, the sign of aspiration, expansion, distant visions, and grand dreams. But in a world still accustomed to comfort and smallness, your quiet growth becomes a threat. Not because you are wrong, but because others have never dared to live as fully as you do. You inspire. But not everyone receives inspiration with an open heart. Some choose to learn from you. Others choose to walk away, because being around you forces them to confront the parts of themselves they've avoided. You don't claim to be better than anyone, but you often arrive at the answer while others are still searching. You don't like to compete, but your sharp instincts and quick intuition often make people feel like they've lost before the race begins. And then you wonder, why did they withdraw? Why after each success is there silence? Why does loneliness return, even when you've done nothing wrong? Sometimes the reason is simply this: you carry a light too real in a room full of people still trying to protect their shadows. You don't need to dim your light, because the light you carry is not meant to burn, it's meant to guide. And those who truly belong with you won't be blinded by your light. They'll smile and walk beside you, not out of envy, but out of genuine admiration. But before those souls arrive, you must keep going, because the next reason touches an even deeper truth. When you lose interest, the whole world around you starts to feel colorless. And that, too, makes you feel distant, even when you're simply being honest with yourself. Reason 8. You have no patience for the ordinary. You could sit through an entire night listening to someone's life philosophy, but feel drained after 5 minutes of pretending to care about a soulless conversation. You could spend months chasing a distant dream, but can't force yourself to stay in a dull setting another moment. It's not arrogance, it's not judgment. It's simply that your Sagittarius soul cannot tolerate mediocrity. You were born under the symbol of fire, ruled by Jupiter, and within you is a massive engine of vision, ideals, and endless growth. Repetition, stagnation, a safe life that has nothing left to discover. These things suffocate your spirit. You're not someone who gets bored easily. You just have an unrelenting hunger to live authentically. You don't abandon. You simply can't remain in places devoid of honesty, dreams, or heart. People look at you and ask, why can't you just settle down? Why can't you stay in one place? But if you stop, your heart wilts. If you try to squeeze yourself into something too small, you begin to die inside a version of yourself that isn't yours. The impatience the world accuses you of is actually the whisper of your soul saying, stop pretending to like things you no longer feel. Stop staying just to be called kind. You are here to live larger, not smaller. And the truth is, you've tried. You've stayed longer than you should. Tried to understand, tried to blend in. But the more you tried, the more disconnected you felt from yourself. Because you were not born to be just enough. You were born to find meaning in every path you walk. Whether it's love, work, or friendship, you can't accept a life that feels faded. And sometimes, that's why people label you as distant, hard to reach, ungrateful. But how can you cherish something that no longer speaks truth to your heart? So if you've ever been left just because you lost interest, don't blame yourself. Because the truth is, anything that no longer resonates with your soul becomes a lie if you choose to stay. And those who truly understand that, they won't ask you to stay. They'll walk with you to new lands where every moment feels alive with meaning. Reason 9, you always feel before everyone else. Some people spend years realizing they're in love, but you only need a glance, a spark in someone's eyes, and you already know. You are a Sagittarius, the archer who doesn't just aim with hands, but with a heart that vibrates to the subtlest frequencies of the universe. You love early, but not shallowly. You feel deeply, but not recklessly. You sense words before they are spoken. You recognize sadness before it's admitted. And because your heart runs ahead of others, you're often the first to hurt. You don't wait for others to come closer. You walk forward. You don't wait for hearts to open, you hand over your key. You don't protect yourself. You let feelings pour in like the first summer rain. But because of that, you shatter before they even realize something's wrong. You melt while they are still calculating. You retreat in silence, just as they begin to see your worth. Sagittarius doesn't love like others do. You don't love to possess, you love to touch a soul. You don't need someone to complete you, because you are already light itself. But you crave emotional connection, the kind where nothing needs to be said, yet everything is understood. And perhaps that's why your heart carries early scars. Not because you are weak, but because you are brave enough to feel when others still resist. You are an emotional symphony not everyone knows how to listen to. You are the moment autumn arrives, but few are sensitive enough to notice. You are the subtle truth that unripe souls will overlook and never return to. And so, you learn silence. You learn to step back, not because you don't love, but because you understand. Some journeys require time for the other to grow, to be ready to walk beside you. You don't need rushed love, you need awakened love. You don't need comforting arms, you need a soul brave enough to sit with your pain. You don't need someone to fill you, you need someone real enough to walk with you. If you've ever felt too sensitive, too fragile, too intense. Don't change. That sensitivity is what allows you to touch the corners of emotions others fear to enter. You carry the gift of emotional healing. And if someone was lucky enough to be loved by a Sagittarius like you, they will never forget how you loved them, with parts of themselves they didn't even know existed. So if someone turned away because you gave too much, don't blame yourself. It wasn't because you were too much. It was because they weren't enough to receive it. But stay with that heart. Don't shut your feelings down, because you, the light you carry, will guide other wandering hearts lost in the fog of numbness. And on that path, you are never truly alone. Reason 10. You are a soul that doesn't belong here. Now breathe in gently, because this next reason isn't just emotional, it's instinctual. It's the quiet truth behind your sacred longing. It's what makes you feel misplaced, even when surrounded by people. Have you ever walked into a crowded room, yet felt like you were standing alone in another world? Have you ever spoken a truth, only to be met with confused stares, as if your words came from another dimension? Have you ever laughed, but deep down, you knew no one around you truly saw you? If your answer is yes, then you are one of those rare Sagittarius souls whom the universe sent to Earth, not to blend in, but to lead. There is something in you that does not belong to this world, a frequency that doesn't match the noise, a knowing that doesn't come from logic, a vision that stretches far beyond the horizon. You often feel like you're living in between worlds. Your body is here, but your soul, it remembers the stars. You are the wanderer who always sees too much, feels too deeply, dreams too wide. And because of that, you are often misunderstood. You are often alone. Not because you're wrong, but because your truth doesn't fit into the boxes others have accepted as life. You are the flame in a world of shadows, and sometimes that light frightens people. But that light was never meant to make them comfortable. It was meant to awaken them. If you've ever felt too strange, too distant, too different, know this: you are not strange. You are sacred. You are not alone. You are chosen. And your place is not in being understood, but in being the one who helps others understand themselves. So walk your path, even if no one joins at first, even if the world calls you too much or too far gone, because somewhere out there, other stars are waking up, other lights are flickering back on, and one day they will find you and recognize in your fire the home they've been searching for all along. You are not an ordinary person. You are a nomadic soul, sent to ignite the flame in worlds that have long gone dim. You are the bow drawn toward the future, while the rest of the world still wrestles with the past. You were not born to belong. You were born to remind us that humans can live truthfully, that love still has the power to heal, that the soul, though not everyone dares to awaken it, is something we all quietly yearn for. You are a torch, meant not to be embraced but to light the way. You are the wind, not to be kept but to stir sleeping minds. You are a call from afar, from something sacred, deeper, something this world has not yet found the words for. You carry dreams no one understands, intuition no one can prove, wounds no one sees, and an energy no one can explain. That is why you are resented. Not because you are wrong, but because your light shines too brightly on the dark places in others. They fear you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your presence makes it impossible for them to keep pretending. You force them to face what they've tried to forget. You awaken something in them that has long slept, while you have already begun to rise. You are a soul-led being, living among those still anchored to appearances. You are the embodiment of Sagittarius destiny, an awakening beyond all ordinary patterns. But do you know the beautiful part? That feeling of misplacement is a sign. Your soul is aligned. Your not belonging proves you belong to something higher. If you've ever felt out of place, know that you're simply ahead of your time. If you've ever felt alone, remember, the guardian of the light always walks before the crowd. And if you've made it with me to this final moment, maybe you're no longer just a listener. Maybe you're a Sagittarius who has remembered who you truly are. A bearer of light, a gatekeeper, a soul that does not belong to this world, and for that very reason, was chosen to change it. Dear Sagittarius, thank you for staying until the very end. Thank you for bravely facing yourself through every reason, every scar, Every silence you hadn't yet named. Maybe you felt misunderstood. Maybe you've walked through crowded rooms and still felt alone. Maybe you've asked yourself, is something wrong with me? But no, there is nothing wrong with you. You are simply different, in the way the universe patiently waits for the world to finally understand. You are a Sagittarius. Not born to blend in, but to carve the way. Not sent to Earth to be just likable enough, but to become a radiant light. Even if that light makes others squint. Thank you for having the courage to reflect on your journey, to listen to your heart through every emotional shard. Thank you for not walking away, even in those moments when you wanted to walk away from yourself. And if you've seen yourself in these words, then leave a comment below. I choose to be myself. Even if it's lonely, I will keep walking. Because who knows? Your message might be the light that guides another lost soul out there. Who knows? You might be the reason someone finally believes. Being different doesn't mean being wrong. Being alone doesn't mean being abandoned. If this message touched your heart, share it. Because light, when shared, can never be extinguished. And if you want to keep receiving messages meant just for your soul, hit follow, turn on notifications, because here, there will always be space for wanderers with honest hearts and far-seeing eyes like yours. Your journey doesn't end here. It's only just beginning.